So, hey, this is Paul from Pencash Buyers, and I have with me the venerable Spencer Ho. Hey, Spencer.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. A little bit warm out here in Las Vegas today.
I hear it's pretty warm everywhere recently.
What's it like? Are you in Irvine now?
Yep, in Irvine right now. It's been probably around 90s last several days here.
Oh, okay. Not too bad, not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 109 around here.
Big difference, yep.
But I tell you something. I was down on the Strip at the Encore on the, just there on the Strip, and I tell you, there are so many Chinese here now. It is incredible. Because I've been coming here, since I was a kid. I've never seen this kind of a change before. Even during the Japanese bubble, you didn't see this. What I'm seeing now, there's a massive lucky cat, like 3 or 4 meters tall, in the middle of the Strip.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
Yeah, it's super cool. I took a video next to it. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All the hotels are now have Chinese speakers, the customer service, and you hear Chinese just all the time here. Like Mandarin, the Cantonese, everything. It's incredible.
Yep, I would imagine so, and it's even getting more dense since the 10-year visas were started here. So a lot more travel.
Right. You're absolutely right. The effect of that 10-year visa thing is really kicking in now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if anybody on the call doesn't know, that Chinese can get 10-year multiple entry tourist visas, and also Americans can get 10-year multiple entry China visas. So it's a nice treaty because both sides, it's a fair treaty. You can travel easily. Yeah, if you want to go visit a client or go drum up business or go to an event, no problem now.
Mm-hmm. And just to go off that, I was recently in Canada, and one of the stops we were there is technically, to me, a pretty small town, Canadian Rockies. And the main strip there, same thing as what Paul just said. Everywhere you look, just Chinese tourists in and out, all over the place. A lot of Chinese tour operators operating tour companies, tour bus type things.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I just like wherever you go. I just finished my 48-city tour of the U.S., going to all over the place, and I was just shocked. It was really. I don't think I did the tour because I thought I want to find out what's really going on. What's the migration like? What's it like with Chinese in America? Are they just in LA? Are they just in New York? Because that's what people often think. So I went and checked it out, and man, it was shocking. Really, just every single gas station I stopped at, there was someone speaking.
All over the place, exactly.
Wow, I couldn't believe it because we're talking the middle of nowhere here. Like you know what I mean, like Death Valley gas station. As long as it was a big gas. Yeah, there was always Chinese families, and I talked to them, and everybody was laughing, having a good time. Seemed like most of them were traveling. Yeah, well, today the topic is Tiger Moms, and a lot of them saw the video. Some people read the book. They're wondering, for you guys that didn't watch the video online, I'll just give you a quick introduction. That this is what got me thinking about it. Was in Beijing, in downtown Beijing, in a high-end district. There's a Beijing #1 school, most attractive school district in China. Basically, it's the #1 best place to go to school. And in that district, there's a decrepit. But in that district, the houses are selling for $43,000 a square meter, and that's just simply because of parents that want their kids to go to that school district. They're willing to pay anything. They just keep bidding it up and up and up to get into that best school district. Money is no object for this crowd in some situations. So that makes it a very interesting niche, and I've never seen anybody really educate about this area. You hear about Tiger Moms, and you don't think, well, wait a second, to get into school, you need to be in that school district. So there's a lot of competition for certain schools and certain houses that are in certain school districts. And I was wondering, if we could do a webinar to give people some ideas about how they could get into that race. So yeah, so
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's just like I think it's just the beginning of the. I mean, this Tiger Mom. What is a Tiger Mom? Why don't you just tell me what in your experience? What's a Tiger Mom?
Okay, so a couple of years ago, of course, we all know about the author that wrote the book, basically Tiger Mom. I personally have not read it, but we've all basically had summaries of it since it was kind of in the news over and over again for basically several months. Basically, the concept of Tiger Mom is basically Asian parents, doesn't necessarily need to be a Chinese parent, basically any Asian parent that kind of takes education as the primary priority of raising their children. So instead of kind of here in the U.S., children basically would go out and play, socialize, watch movies with friends, whatnot. A Tiger Mom type parent in that sense would favor the children basically instead of doing that to study basically after school type programs, either music type programs or sports type programs, anything that they feel would benefit the children later on when they were applying for college, to give them basically that extra niche, extra push if they were basically down to a bottom line between two college applicants, student A, student B. Student B basically has all those little extra items to put on their quote-unquote application. It basically would help them become accepted to that college.
Right. Now, we don't want to go too deep into Tiger Mom. We want to go more into how to reach them, but it is good to give a good introduction. What have you seen? I mean, I think a lot of mothers are very serious about education. You know, they really want their kids to go to school. So I think a lot of people would say, well, what is a Tiger Mom anyway? My mom was very serious about school, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to that? In your experience growing up around here and seeing mothers that are serious and then seeing, living in Irvine with I don't know what the percentage Chinese it is there, but it's quite high. Right?
Yeah, quite high for Irvine.
What do you see as the difference between, a mother that cares about education, let's say a California mother, and then a Tiger Mom?
Well, like you were introducing earlier, basically these Tiger Mom type people, buyers, clients, basically they would actually favor school district more than the actual home. And being in real estate for over 10 years now, there is a trend basically when we are sourcing out and meeting with our new clients, they just immediately say we're looking for a school district home, 学区房, and that basically is the primary factor. They're not saying I want to be around the Asian areas. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing that. I just want to be in that school district. So we, as kind of an off product of this, have kind of become experts in the local schools as far as the local performance, as far as API scores for the elementary schools and the middle schools, which ones are the higher performance ones that are in the cities or in the area. We're seeing basically, of course, Irvine specifically, all the schools are very good, but we get buyers in sometimes that say, we don't want to be in an Asian area. We don't want our kids to have that pressure of competing against other maybe higher performing students. Find me a maybe less Asian area, but just as good of a school district. So we're basically kind of, in a sense, maybe kind of like a gateholder of that information. What schools are good, what are good fits, what have higher Asian concentrations, what have lower Asian concentrations. And as basically real estate agents, we're at the service of our clients, whatever they want to be looking for, we kind of have to sort that information out and kind of figure out what is the best area to introduce them properties in.
Right. That makes sense. So once you have the client, they're specifying exactly what they want. That makes a lot of sense. How often do you get like that kind of inquiry?
Almost every inquiry that comes in from China, they're saying, I want to be in a good school district area. Secondary, I want something that basically will either hold its value or will appreciate in value later on, basically when they go on to sell the property at some point. But by and far, I think being in a school district, a good school district, is one of the number one requirements that we get as a factor for choosing what type of property, what exact property that's going to end up being purchased.
Right. And that's the interesting thing is even if they don't have kids, the couple that's buying or the person that's buying, even if they don't have kids, they still want to buy a good school district because they know they can sell it again, right?
Exactly. Later on, it has that extra premium attached to it because it is in that special area attached to that better school district.
Right. So do you compete really hard to get those listings? To get those exclusive listings? What do you do, and what would you recommend for agents? Because people that are going to be listening to this call are all over the world, Australia and the UK. What would you say as a general? What do you do, and what would you recommend others to do to get those listings?
To go back, basically, go and become an expert on all the local schools that are specifically around where you work, and of course alternative schools that are kind of up to probably 1 hour circumference around your base of operations. Like us here in Irvine, we actually go service area up to probably Los Angeles area, which is about an hour away, and that encompasses additional school districts that would have similar profiles to the high performance of Irvine, while being less of an intense kind of a study program, since a lot of parents that want to take their students, their children, out of China is because of partly in China the school's education system is a lot more fierce, a lot more time intensive per se, a lot more stressful for the children. So coming here to the United States, they are looking, of course, for a good program, but they don't want it to, at the same time, be just as stressful as it is in China. So that's one item. Second item, basically, when you are speaking with potential listing clients, you want to mention that basically you do understand what these incoming Chinese clients, either coming in direct from China or that have already been kind of here in the U.S. for maybe 1 or 2 years, kind of figuring out what they want to do, that you kind of understand their mentality, what their purchase trends, what their purchase priorities are, and you are able to utilize and leverage this basically specialized expertise in order to market their properties in a better light, per se. And this would be partly being able to basically market it being as a school district home, or additionally that you understand other facets of what these Chinese buyers basically are looking for when it comes to purchasing properties.
So basically showing the sellers that you are qualified to find the buyers, you understand the buyers.
And qualified to best market that A, the property is in the school district or a better school district. B, basically, if the house, has several factors that would appeal to these Chinese buyers, you're able to basically market these specific factors.
Just think of all the things that they could do. So basically promote themselves as the agent who understands the buyers, can bring in the buyers, get those exclusive listings. I've kind of been rolling around in my mind some good ideas to market. Once they have the knowledge, one is being an expert, right? So the thing is become an expert in the schools in your area. Two is use that to get listings so that you get the exclusives. And the third thing is to reach out to the buyers. What would you say? How would you say, for the simplest way, somebody in New York, Sydney, whatever, could reach out now that they have the expertise, they have the listing? What would you do first to reach out to the buyers?
Okay, so some things that we have kind of done in the past, and we've done a lot of stuff by trial and error. So same thing as you have, Paul, trying to market and figure out what works and what doesn't work. One thing that we figured works well is, and especially in areas where we know there are higher concentrations of Chinese, so this would be, like you just mentioned, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Australia, where the population concentrations might be a little bit higher. We would go basically direct to private schools where we know there's a lot of basically international students, and trying to basically figure out trying to do a direct relationship is never going to work because they're going to know for a fact that you're trying to get something out of that relationship. But trying to basically offer them information, kind of like a flyer type handout, saying that you specialize in area homes, you specialize in basically working with Chinese clients, you understand the culture. We do that type of things, and we've gotten calls from that before. Sometimes it would be directly for the students and their families' use. Sometimes they're just looking for investment, so it might not even be for a direct end-user home. And this is partly because if a Chinese parent sends their children, basically out of country for school, usually the parents are not going to be here 100% of the time. But when the parents are here, they're going to be visiting. They're going to basically be wandering around. And most of the time we have figured out that if they send their kids off to school in whatever country, United States, Australia, Europe, they're looking at the big picture as well. So they kind of have it in their mind that children might stay behind after they graduate. So if it's college, high school, whatever, they might stay behind, finish off college, graduate school, find work. They're going to stay behind more likely than not, or find a reason to stay behind. So the parents, if they have this money to be able to invest in international real estate, it of course is one of the topics on their mind. So they'll basically find whatever is the quickest way to get in contact with an area specialist. And as with everything real estate marketing related, as much marketing as you can put out, the more you put out, the more incoming calls, incoming leads you get. So that's kind of one of the marketing pieces we've done in the past.
Reach out to the schools.
We try to just do that with colleges as well, with the international student departments, but they won't talk with us directly. So that might be an option as well if you can figure out how to open up that channel.
Sure. Right. Another thing people could try, I don't know if this depends on your situation, but one of my friends made a very good network taking in a Chinese exchange student.
Mm-hmm.
So they took an exchange student and they met tons of people in the program, and it kicked off their sales to Chinese.
Yeah, that's correct. It opens up a lot of contacts that way.
Yeah, but I mean, it just depends on how good the luck is, right? Because that particular student was very vivacious and spoke English and had a lot of friends, and they liked each other. You know, the owner of the house, and they were aged too. They liked each other, and the student kind of helped, you know. But you could have a very, you know, worse luck. I've seen a very sullen student who never leaves their room. All they eat is, noodles inside their room by themselves. You know, you weigh the options and what's the smartest thing to do. Right. Do you write any blog posts, or do you do any videos, or what is your kind of what's the smart thing for you? Not to put too much time into it, but what would you do to market yourself online as the agent to handle the buyers for the education buyers, Tiger Moms?
So to go back on something that you basically pushed a lot in your training is to go ahead and open up basically a WeChat Weixin account. So you kind of have access directly to potential buyers. And what we have done repeatedly and recurring is every now and then we would add a post saying, whenever we come across a news item, what are the highest ranked schools that are in the area. And this was probably last month, Money Magazine, which is not normally one that ranks public schools. They actually did a public school ranking, and their ranking came in a little bit different than U.S. News, which is traditionally the more respected magazine that does the school ranking. And basically we would go ahead and put out a link saying the new schools that are on this magazine's ranking and the ones that are basically within our area. So number 2 was this school, number 5 was this school, number 10 was this school, and then basically the subtext for it, basically, please contact us for specific information on either the school districts or homes available around these school districts.
So you're talking about taking this knowledge and posting it as in your timeline on your WeChat account, right?
Exactly, into basically the mini blog that's part of your WeChat.
So like for people listening, it's like your Facebook timeline. You're just posting things in there that are helpful about schools in your area. Now, anything could really work, right? Like timelines, if there's a deadline to apply for this year, to go to school, something like that.
Exactly, and we do the same thing for college rankings as well. So whatever colleges that are in our area that basically ranked in the top 100. So for us, UC Irvine, UCLA, Caltech, any of these bigger schools that are well-respected, same thing. And then when we post anything to WeChat of this kind, we actually copy the post and put it into our basically our company Facebook page as well, in Chinese and in English. And part of that is to kind of subliminal to our potential clients, U.S.-based. So they say, oh, Spencer's posting something in Chinese. He must be having a lot of Chinese clients. So a little bit subliminal there.
Right. That I've noticed that is very true. When sellers, when they see Chinese language, some sellers, not all sellers, of course, but some sellers are very excited when they see that. You know, I guess just like some people get very excited about a Chinese character tattoo. You know. They see Chinese language and they think, oh man, these guys must have a bunch of Chinese buyers, right? So it's a way, and it works the other way too. Like the Chinese, they see that, and even if it's not perfect Chinese, and even if it's not that much information, they still say, well, these guys are trying to obviously reach Chinese, so maybe I can give them a call. Maybe they're safe.
Exactly, gives you that extra little touch there.
Sure. I've noticed when I'm traveling, I don't know. When you're traveling in another country and you see a little bit of English, just a tiny bit of English will bring me in a restaurant. You know what I mean? If I'm walking down the street and it's all in Thai or something, and there's one English sign that just says something like, there's some information about the restaurant, I'll tend to go in that one because I think, well, they're trying to reach me, right? They're trying to reach non-Thai in that case. And so maybe the waitress speaks English, maybe the menu's in English, and I'll just tend to walk in that one. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so just a little bit of Chinese in their blog, or a Chinese link to news or something like that. Cool. So, what other is there any kind of organizations or groups that you see that it's easy to get into a network of Tiger Moms?
As far as directly targeting Tiger Moms, I think there aren't that many direct groups, but it would kind of be these, I guess, quote unquote, old wives type clubs. So all of them kind of would hang together. So once you're able to get in touch with one of them and do business well, you'll basically for sure get referrals off of it. Might not be immediate, and we've seen this in the past before. A lot of our buyers basically have purchased homes, and for whatever reason, they don't let their friends know that they purchased here in the U.S. until maybe a year later. And at that time, basically, we get a lot of introductions and referrals saying, Spencer sold us a home in California and has done a good job, has watched after it for us since we haven't gone over any of that, and we've gotten referrals that way. And it works with any Chinese buyer. It doesn't have to necessarily be a Tiger Mom type buyer. With a Tiger Mom buyer, of course, once you're able to latch one, you know for sure what they're looking for. So you can kind of direct specific content as far as drip marketing. So once a month or every 2 months, you can send them these kind of updates. This school district did good on this, or whatever changes as far as education type policy in your specific areas. So they're updated on whatever information that is more specific to them, and they see it as saying, oh, Spencer knows that I'm looking for this type of property and this type of information. When I am ready, I know who I'm going to. And basically anyone that does that is basically keeping themselves in front of the client. So when the client is ready, you should be able to get at least the first contact from them, first chance at doing business with them.
Right. So that's a good point, and that's something I was thinking about this morning. Is I was actually thinking about a newsletter that could be sent out, but basically content can be reused. I don't want people to go into a black hole of wasting a lot of time on something that doesn't pay off, right? So I like to think of things that work, minimum effort, but they have maximum return. And the content and the knowledge of school districts is something that can be maximized. So you could put it on your WeChat account. You can do it in English. If you want to pay someone $5 to translate to Chinese, you could do that for $5. You could put it on your Facebook page, and you can send it in a newsletter. So you could get mothers to sign up for a monthly newsletter and then just send them, information like if you're looking to go to school in 2015. Let me ask you that. If I was doing a newsletter in Irvine, and I was sending it out to potential, that I considered my Tiger Mom list, right? And I knew there was a good chance they either knew somebody in school or wanted their kids to go to school, and you were going to give them advice about when to look for homes so they could enter the new school year, which starts in September. What would be, when would you have to come look at homes? When would be a good time? Or what would be
usually I tell them to come in June or July. And these would be for buyers that are ready, meaning if they're purchasing with a loan, their down payment funds are already in the U.S. If they're purchasing cash, they have a way to move that cash over. And part of the reason you want to make sure they're ready is a lot of Chinese buyers, and maybe not just Chinese buyers, international buyers, every country has different policies as far as moving money over. So if your timelines are off, you're going to spend a lot of time working with a client, find them a perfect home that they fall in love with, and have no way to purchase it. And you don't want that to happen because they're going to kind of feel like they wasted your time. They know they wasted their time. And when they are actually ready, they most likely would not go on using you since they kind of feel embarrassed that they wasted your time. So part of your screening process with new buyers is making sure that they are qualified to basically start looking at homes. So you're not just running around showing homes, getting them to basically an offer stage when they financially are unable to basically write that offer. If they are basically in that ready stage, then usually, like I said, if we're aiming for September move-in, September close, then we're having them come over June, July. And that way they should be able, if they find a home, close within that 30 to 45-day period to be able to take possession of the property and enroll their kids in the school that they want.
That's a really good point, Spencer. I really totally agree with that. And one thing, we have different experiences in Shanghai selling, but it was the same result. Is, for example, somebody, a Chinese buyer would ask us for a house, and they would give us a certain price. And we would spend a long time looking for a house at that exact price that they mentioned. And then it turns out that they couldn't quite afford that price. So they wanted a lower. What I found is 100% of those buyers that we, looked, let's say it was $1 million, let's say an apartment for $1 million, and they wanted that, but actually they could only afford, let's say, $700,000, is that we always lost the buyers every time in the beginning because they lost face or something. They was like they kind of lost face. I think you're kind of saying the same thing. What they'll do is they'll go to a new agent and tell them $700,000 and buy the property.
Exactly.
Because they didn't want to go down. They didn't want to make a mistake. They didn't want to lose face. So you're saying the dates that you give them are very important because if they look for a house and there's two bad things. One is they won't get into school that year, and the second thing is they lose face. So they're not going to use you as an agent, even if it's their fault. As long as you didn't make it super clear to them, so they understood that they have to have the money in before June and July, just to start looking. So you might want to contact them in May or April to get them to start getting the money over. So
Correct.
they have it. Right. That makes a lot of sense. That really, yeah, that resonates with me a lot. Because once you have a buyer, it's a tragedy to lose them.
Exactly.
Do you have any funny stories about Tiger Moms that any of your friends, like with really intense Tiger Mom friends?
Nothing off the top of my head, but I've had a lot of friends that are now very good friends that basically have purchased previous to me knowing them, that basically have purchased in areas that are not really school districts, but basically they just purchased without and having any knowledge. Their agents basically didn't do a good job of saying, that with a little bit more money, you could be in basically a school district. And this happened basically with one of our friends that lives in Walnut. Walnut, basically, the city is split into two school districts for some reason, although it's one city. One being Walnut Unified, which is basically a 10-point school, which is 950 and above API.
Okay.
And then the other school district is Roland Heights School District, which is also technically good. It's 8 to 9 point school, so 750, 800 plus API. But basically, if they upped their budget by a little bit, they would have been basically in the actual Walnut School District, which in the end, basically they purchased. This was probably at least four years ago. Within that 4 years, basically, actual homes that are within the true Walnut School District have, of course, appreciated at a higher pace than those that are in just the Roland Heights School District. This, of course, all goes down back to you as an agent. Are you providing your clients with this best information, having your client's best interests as your service model instead of saying, I just want to sell the home, I don't care about my client? Maybe
an American parent wouldn't be so, they might be more concerned about other things than, school district is absolutely number one, right? They might
exactly.
They might be more concerned is how the house looks or, some aspect of the house design or size or something, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you're just talking about pure school districts here, right? Even if the house isn't as good, right?
Correct.
So there's a high priority. Tiger Moms, it's school district number one, and that's it. Got to get into that. What else? Is there anything that an agent could do? I know you're short on time, so tell me if we're over here.
Okay, no problem.
Is there anything an agent could do that would be helpful in general to a Tiger Mom? Like, what is some local knowledge that they have that they wouldn't even maybe realize that's important? Because there's a lot of Chinese agents that are competing against for these listings and for these sales, right? Is there anything that let's say a non-Chinese local agent whose kid went to a good school, they understand the education system? What knowledge do they have that would be really helpful for to be friends with for a new Chinese buyer?
Yeah, definitely. If basically the agent has children of their own that has basically attended these top-notch schools, and by top-notch, I'm basically saying anything that's above probably a 8-point school, basically a 750 API would be marketable. So if any of these agents had children attend these type of schools, they're able to basically give specific information saying my own children went to these schools, attended these specific programs. What was good about the specific school? What was not so good about the specific school? The agents themselves, basically what colleges they went to, if it's basically a reputable college, well-known, be sure to basically market that. Like me, myself, I attended UC Irvine, which my office is in Irvine, so I make sure to market that, saying I'm local, I went to school here, I've been here for a long time, which always helps.
Oh, so saying in your WeChat profile, bragging a little bit, talking about my went to, UCI or went to Harvard or whatever, talking about that, maybe a picture of graduation, and proving to the potential buyers, the Tiger Moms over there, and also over here, they understand the education system and they would be maybe have a good network and good knowledge to help them out. So
kind of be on the same value scale, correct?
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense. So talking about your own kids. If they didn't have kids, I guess they could just post about schools and information and things like that, things that would be helpful for a Tiger mom.
Correct.
Let's see. So we got some ideas here. Let's see if we can summarize them. One, let me think here, is learn your area for schools.
Mm-hmm.
Find out what is the highest.
For the schools, basically, public schools, private schools, colleges, basically everything that is school-related.
And then what was it? I always recommend the U.S. News and World Report for the colleges. How would you research this for, what is that number that you keep saying for the schools that are rated a certain rating? What is that?
Based off of an API score, and this would be for high schools, public high schools.
API.
And this is for United States. Academic Performance Index.
And then where do I get that? If I'm looking at, say, where would I see that API?
So if you're on Google, basically you can type in basically whatever city you're searching, so Irvine, and then API score. And that basically should pop up several sites that would index the specific schools and the specific scores that are attached to them.
Okay, so I'm looking at the API score for the school that I went to in San Clemente, and let's see, what did they give it? 846. Sorry.
846. So that's almost a 9-point school.
Oh, okay.
If it were 850 or above, it would be a 9-point school, and then 950 or above would basically be a. Oh wait, I have that wrong. That is a 8-point school, and then 850 or above would be a 9-point, and then 950 or above would be a 10-point school.
Oh, okay. Right.
That's kind of how they would measure it, kind of in just a quick overall sense. Of course, each specific school has their specific specialization. Certain schools are better for arts. Certain schools are better for science. So depending if the parents are looking for specific programs for their children know what they want to do in the future, that might not just rely on API score. It'll be an API score along with what the school specializes in.
Right. So I just searched San Clemente High School API score. So for somebody else who's, say, in the UK or Australia, I would just search for the name of your high school and then high school rankings and see if you can come up with how your country rates the high schools. So in Spain, they're going to have a different ranking, and in Israel, a lot of people listen to this podcast all over the place, in Germany and Sweden. So just look for how they rank the schools in your area. So in the U.S., it's 8, and then in Canada, I'm not sure, but just find out what the school rankings and what they're called in your area, and then you can talk intelligently about that and give good advice. Because if you had a very wealthy client and you sold them a house right next to a great school district that had a much higher ranking, that would be a really terrible thing to do, because you'd make less money and you would never get referrals.
Exactly.
You'd get it's only one trick pony, one sale, right? So we want to make a lot of and have a huge clientele. So that's awesome. Spencer, that is really great. Anything else you'd like to add?
Not really. I think we covered most of the points.
Super valuable podcast. Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I know you're busy, and
no problem. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no problem. So, how can they get a hold of you?
I am at Spencer@thewhogroup.com. Spencer at THEHOO group.com. Any specific questions, feel free to email.
Thanks very much. And Spencer's a great guy, and I've known Spencer for a long time. If anybody has a buyer for the Irvine area, I'm sure that would be a really great connection there. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks for taking the time, and thank you very much for listening to this podcast. And any questions, please send them to paul@ChinaCashBuyers.com. And we have our iTunes podcast, which is the China Cash Buyers podcast, and our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/China Cash Buyers, no spaces, no dots. And that channel has gotten more and more popular, so check out the videos there. We just recorded 48 videos in 48 cities, and we're putting them up slowly every Monday and Wednesday. So get down there and subscribe if you're liking the information you're hearing. Thank you very much for listening.